Hello, good evening, guitar player, my fellow musician, friend, student, colleague. You want to learn the fretboard, which is amazing. I congratulate you. So you're already winning by wanting to do that and being open to learning the fretboard. It's just a no-brainer in my opinion. Now you need to know the names of the strings, of course. Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. And you need to know the chromatic scale. That's just how basically the musical alphabet works. If you don't know it already, go check out my video. It's short, it's sweet, it's not a big deal, but this is the chromatic scale right here. So you need to know those things, and you need to know that every fret on the guitar is 1/2 step. So if I'm here and I go here, I'm going 1/2 step away. Catnip, care about the notes I play. Anything you play, any riff, what were those notes? Any chord, what were those notes? Like every note in that chord. All right, for example, a D chord. We know the names of the strings. So we have an open string right here. We have a D. And then we have this is the second fret of the G string. So we got open G. Just walk up your chromatic scale. G sharp, A. Now we have third fret of the B string. So we have B, C, that's a natural 1/2 step. All right, two natural notes that are right next to each other, B and C, all right? B, C, C sharp, D. C sharp, of course, could be a D flat. G sharp could be an A flat. I'm just keeping it simple by only using the sharp names. Now we have second fret of the E string right here. So this is E, F, there's your other natural 1/2 step, E to F, F sharp, all right? D, A, D, F sharp. Now one thing is you're not gonna know whether to call that an F sharp or a G flat. That is true, because depending on the context, that changes. But that's sort of for another day. So it's not a bad idea to just write this down. Just write down D, A, D, F sharp. This is how you're learning theory, all right? Because you will notice patterns. When you start to know the names of the notes, now you'll notice patterns. You're gonna be playing up here somewhere, and there's gonna be another D, A, F sharp, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, that's a D chord, all right? So you can go through your open chords. Let's say you have a riff. It's the exact same thing. I love that riff. It's Al Green, Love and Happiness. It'd be the exact same thing. I'm just gonna look at my first note. You can count up all the way from the bottom, or maybe now you know, hey, this was a D. I just learned this was a D, so I can count up from my D now. This is cumulative. You build up landmarks, all right? Here's the D, D, D sharp, E, F, natural 1/2 step, F sharp, G, G sharp, all right? You can also be sort of astute knowing that this 12th fret is an octave. So you could count down from the octave. Here's B, B flat. Sometimes when we go down, we tend to use flats, but it's still A sharp or B flat, A, and then G sharp or A flat. And you do it for every note. You can write it down, you can not write it down. I mean, or maybe you write some of them down. It might be a lot to write down every single thing you know, every riff. What are those notes? What are those notes? This is a slow process, and that's okay. If you are indeed diligent about learning the notes that you play, anything that you play, that means every time you learn something new on the guitar, which is hopefully pretty often, you're learning more notes. And you will also see that a lot of times you're like, oh, I already know these notes. They're gonna start to overlap. All right, so that's just based on what you know. This is step one, that's ground zero. If you don't do anything else, do that. Catnip, all right? The number one most powerful thing you can do with knowing the notes is being able to play things in different places. So let's take, for example, all right, Come As You Are. So we got E, it's an open string, natural half step to F, F sharp, another open string, A, F sharp, we already know, A, F sharp, F sharp, F, E. Now we got this note. A sharp, B, it's a B. So for example, if you had learned the notes in your open chords, let's say you had already done that, you would know this note, B, from your E chord. I'm just saying, they add up, okay? So we got this. All right, just the beginning of the riff. Write it out, and now let's play that riff in other places on the guitar. This might take a second when you first do it, but this is easily the most powerful way, in my opinion, to A, learn the notes on the fretboard, but B, really get playing on the rest of the fretboard, all right? Let's find another E, because that's the starting note of our riff. Let's just go to the next string on our A string. Let's start counting up. It's gonna be a lot of counting up. It's just the way it is. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. All right? Now we gotta go E, E, F, and that's easy because these are half steps. E, E, F, F sharp. All right, good so far. Next note is an A. Now, the guitar's weird. There's different ways to play the same note. You might say, all right, well, let me just find it on the same string. F sharp, G, G sharp, A. There's an A right there. Now we need a B. You might be hunting around. Not everything is intuitive. You might look on the same string. So A sharp, B. That's fine. That's a big jump. But that's fine. You're learning. But you might say that's kind of a big jump. One thing about the guitar is if you want to go more that way, then you go that way, because those strings are higher. So for the same note, the fret is going to be lower. All right? So I just found another B. I did it magically because I'm a ninja, but you're going to have to count around. It might take you a while. It's okay. You might have gone from all the way down here, D, D sharp, E, just hunting until you find that B, you know? Or you might realize it's kind of like tuning your guitar. Like this A right here is like that. And those are the same, so it's kind of like that. Same note. All right? However you get there, you're going to get there. So now we have... And then play it. Okay? You can do it somewhere else. I won't go through the whole process. You understand the process, but it could be here. It could be here. Where else? That's way up there. So you can do it anywhere. Okay, so what you're doing is taking a melody that you learned. Let's say that's a riff you already knew. Now you wrote down the notes. Now you look for other places to play it. This is going to make you really learn the fretboard, and it's very musical because you're teaching your fingers like, hey, is the same as, and your fingers are like, oh my gosh, okay, same notes all over the place, cool. You are really absorbing a lot of information if you do this. You can do the same thing with chords. Remember we did our D chord? You learned that in a D chord, the notes are D, A, D, F sharp, in an open D chord. You notice there's two Ds there. You can take one of those out. So the notes in a D major chord are D, F sharp, A. You're learning theory just by catnipping, all right? So if you know the notes in a D chord are D, F sharp, A, find them somewhere else. Go find yourself a D. Again, I think you understand the process. You know, you would count up. I want to find another D somewhere. You're going to count up and you'll arrive here. And then you're like, all right, let me pick another string to find an F sharp or an A. And you might F sharp, G, G sharp, A, all right? Got my D, got my A. And then you got to find an F sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. You just happened yourself upon a really great shape for a D chord or any major chord. A very movable shape. And I can teach you those shapes, no problem, but coming upon them in this way is really going to internalize them. But when you do learn something in another way, just catnip it. Just catnip it and then play it in other places. So now you got a D chord. Find another D, F sharp, A. Another D, F sharp, A. Wherever you can find it. All right. I mean, riffs are probably easier to do with this than chords, but why should they be? It's really the same process. Okay, so far we are using the repertoire that you already have, whether it's a lot or a little, and we're saying whatever you know, whether all you know is E minor, or you know lots of riffs, you've been playing a long time, you just don't know the notes. Whatever your repertoire is, use it to learn the fretboard. So far, that's what we've been saying. But let me give you some more tools, expand this whole process, just make it even more musical and deep, okay? Another way to really marry this together with other parts of your journey, your musical journey, is tie it together with like learning triads and learning scales, all right? So for example, I don't like to teach scales by fingering. I don't mind teaching you like some really common fingerings, but ideally, actually, you find scales on your own. So you would use the major scale formula, all right? This is a whole other video about major scales. You should watch that. You should learn how to create a major scale. Very, very important. Then write it out, okay? You did your D major scale. We're in D major today. So you wrote out your D major scale. Now go find a D somewhere and make a scale. Don't look up the fingerings. Don't look it up somewhere. Find it yourself. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. They try to tell you there's 5 scale forms or whatever. There's scales everywhere, all over your guitar. You know, you could do, all right, I'm gonna do a D scale on my B string. You're learning the notes so much better when you're not doing things by fingerings. Patterns are great to learn and then break them. They're not gonna go away. It's like kneading dough. You know, you break up the gluten or your muscles. It's like you break your muscles down for them to get stronger. Learn patterns. They're not gonna go anywhere, but then break them. Keep on breaking them. Keep on breaking them. Once you realize you're using a pattern, do something else. 2-string scale. It's kind of weird. I want to note that tablature, which is ubiquitous, obviously, in guitar world, tablature is kind of your biggest enemy or your biggest obstacle when you are trying to learn the notes on the guitar, because you can memorize all the notes. You're like, great, I got it. You can pass the test. You're like, in 0.5 seconds, I can find any note on the guitar. Great. And then you go learn a new riff and you use tablature and you're not using the notes at all. That's really not helping you. So what you got to do is cure the tablature. And catnip cures the tablature. You learn the tablature, you learn the riff like we said before, but then go back and say, what notes am I playing? Now, I call it curing the tablature. You figured out the notes, you got it out of this language that I really don't like. I don't like tablature, but you can fix it with catnip. One last thing, I'm really doing it now. I'm going to make my channel memberships, the $5 tier and the Patreon $5 tier, they're going to be exactly the same. It's just up to you where you want to be. Obviously, Patreon has no ads. And Patreon actually is much easier to download, like PDFs and have extra stuff. So for things like those vocal melodies and videos of me playing along with the vocal melodies, better on Patreon. On YouTube, it's just going to be copyright madness. So anyway, yeah, support me on Patreon or channel memberships and support yourself by getting more stuff.